Is it a good year to be picking this high? Is it a deep draft in your impression?
Yeah, I think looking at the draft this year, I think there's some real good value in the first couple of rounds, maybe more so than other years. Not so sure about the depth later in the draft. I mean, every draft kind of either has a good front end and maybe a better middle or maybe a little more value in the back end, but I think this year there's some real good picks in the first couple of rounds.
Whomever you select at 8, how many times will one of your scouts, you in particular, or Steve, anybody else, how many times will they have been seen in person, do you think?
Yeah, it's, there's obviously Steve and myself going everywhere, to watch players, and then usually we have a kind of a primary, secondary area where if we picked a guy from Ontario, our Quebec scout will have seen him also, in addition to Steve and myself, and then some of them you might see at tournaments too, but probably anywhere between about 60 to 80 reports will be filed on that particular player that we're going to take.
In addition to watching them play, how much contact can you have with them, and how much do you ask then your scouts to talk to coaches, to parents, to anybody to get a better read on these kids?
Yeah, no, that's a really important, it's a good question. Character is really important for us in our organization. You can't win if you don't have good people. So the guys spend a lot of time trying to peel back, different layers and find out what they're all about. I mean, it could anything be from talking to the vice principal at a high school who's responsible for the discipline at that school, to talking to trainers on teams, they know everything, to obviously talking to coaches, to maybe former teammates, so they really do a deep dive into what they're like as people, not just as players.
Well, Brian, I know you'd rather be drafting 32nd in the first round every year, but this year you've got the 8th overall pick. How valuable do you think this pick's going to be?
Yeah, I think it's a great year to be that high in the draft, to be a top 10 picking team. Last number of years, we haven't come close to that spot, so it's a different game you're playing in. So it's exciting for Ross and his staff, excited for everybody in our organization. There's a little more, I don't know what you call it, excitement, adrenaline, to see what happens, who becomes available at that pick.
Is there a particular type of player that you'd like to add to the mix?
No, I think we're open. Open positional-wise, open, skill. We just want to find a good player that we think can grow and be a contributor to our organization for a long time.
I'm curious, usually a coach at the draft is sort of kind of window dressing, gets a chance to hang out and meet the scouts, but Spencer Carberry has been part of this organization, so he's familiar with a lot of this. Does he have a lot of input in terms of what he would like to see with the roster and how you want to work on building in his vision as well?
Yeah, I think it's important that we communicate. Any conversation regarding players or philosophy going forward. I talk to him, pretty much daily since we've been here on players and what we think and what the power play is going to look like, what kind of needs we're having going forward, and who's a good match for that. So any player discussions, trade discussions, we'll talk it through, and then because it's important for him to be on the same page as we move forward here.